Hey everyone, welcome to this weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast for the week of November 2nd through the 8th of 2020. All right, so this week we have Mercury going station direct on Tuesday. So things that have been on the back burner, I think starting to move forward a little bit. Anything you have been reworking, redoing, may start to build some momentum as we go through this week. Now that Mercury station is squaring up to Saturn pretty much all week long. So there is good, it is good to have a bit of maybe patience with things. There still is this kind of restrictive energy, maybe with our minds, maybe with how we're thinking about things, maybe a bit densely. So we do want to make sure we're not getting too dense, too grounded, too real, and being observant of that. But nonetheless, channeling it. I think it's great for channeling our minds into productive things, maybe challenging ourselves with some of these mental things, and maybe communications as well. So on Wednesday or around Wednesday, the sun will be shifting into Libra, coming out of more improvement-oriented Virgo. So although that is still where Mercury is and Venus is regarding Virgo of improvement and refinement and the daily routines, there is a shift of perspective. And I think the shift will be on what can bring in more balance into our life and maybe starting to focus on interpersonal matters of cooperation and finding harmony. All right, so other than that, Jupiter over Pluto will go exact next week. So as we go through the week, maybe seeing that there are some deep things that have been become aware of this year since around April. Really good for seeing how we can empower ourselves, maybe make some changes, and connecting to what really matters on the deepest level. All right, so let's take a look at all of this here in more detail when we return. All right, so here's the sky for this week. We'll look at this for each day of the week, starting with Monday, November 2nd. As you can see here, we are using the visible sky, which is not normally used in mainstream astrology. And so because of this, the signs do change. And you will notice a lot of the signs that I mentioned will be different from mainstream astrology. So if you are new to this form of astrology called True Sidereal, definitely check out that link down below for more information. All right, so let's go ahead and start. Just a quick look here at the transits. As you can see, not that busy of a week astrologically, but I still think it is an important one, particularly because Mercury is going direct and we have this square with Mercury up to Saturn. So let's get some context first in the bigger picture. We did just have that full moon last Saturday. So we are still in the heightened energy of the lunar month coming into this week. And if there was any insights or shifts of perspective that you've had since the last weekend, it is good to maybe start to implement this, right? We will be in what's called the disseminating phase of the lunar cycle, which is great for implementing anything that came to our field of awareness around the full moon. So looking first at Monday, actually before we do, let's take a look at the placements to get a context of the bigger picture. So we do have the sun finishing up Virgo this early part of the week around Wednesday, shifting into Libra. But we still do have a lot of energy in Virgo at the moment. So it is still good, especially coming into this week for the first few days, to continue to focus on improvement of things. And this can be great for personal development, personal improvement, creating good habits, good routines, but all in all, just taking care of things, right? Virgo is all about getting into the details, creating some systems, some structures in our life so that we can, have good, essentially more flexibility in our life, because we do have good habits or routines or systems and structures in place that do allow for that. So Mercury's here. Our minds are still definitely in the doing the work and improvement day-to-day kind of stuff. But again, that stuff might start to shift forward around Tuesday. And Venus here means we can be enjoying this stuff and maybe connecting in our relationships in this more improvement-oriented way, which we do want to find some balance with Venus debilitated in Virgo, just to make sure that things are in union with relationships regarding what can be improved and fixed. All right, so that's the most important placements in terms of the the fast movers. But Mars is, of course, still in Pisces retrograde. So again, as a reminder, it is still this time of going with the flow as best as we can. Mars is our action, our drive, our initiative, our needs, and it's in the middle of the ocean. right now, and retrograde and going backwards. So it is very good to, have flexibility and listen to our intuition. And sometimes inaction is the best action. Sometimes putting, actions towards where the currents of life are taking us versus swimming upstream, could be a great way of working with this Mars retrograde here. All right, so let's start with Monday. So no major aspects going exact on Monday, but the moon will be in Taurus. So the theme pretty much from Monday through Wednesday, the moon will be in Taurus. And so this symbolizes more of a good time to maybe connect to nature, maybe connect to the natural resources of life, maybe having some beauty or abundance around us, maybe enjoying the simple life, a good meal, some relaxation, right? Getting into the more grounded and steady elements these first few days of the week. And, it's a great placement for the moon. So it's great to be grateful for what we do have on a material level and really connect to our inner strength, because that is where the inner resources are. That is the foundation, right? Self-reliance, resourcefulness, inner strength, right? Really good to develop these first few days. Now, once we start to get into Tuesday, Mercury is going to go station. And so this signifies that the past few weeks have been a reworking process, particularly with both Mercury and Mars retrograde. So now on Tuesday, there is a bit of a pause with maybe some of the stuff that has been going through the reworking process the past few weeks. Maybe anything we've been going back and redoing or re-editing. Really good to see now how things could start to move forward a little bit. Do give it some time, of course. There is this station period where things are a bit paused. Maybe Tuesday is a good day to kind of pause, maybe with the routines or with some of the mental activities, just to see what is shifting in terms of our perspective. And again, with Mercury and Virgo, a lot of it likely does have to do with the day-to-day and things that we're doing or fixing or improving, which has been really the theme in the larger context. All right, so once we start to get into around Wednesday onward, again, a little more forward-moving energy with our minds, with the routine and any correspondence stuff that has been either on the back burner or going through that reworking process. Again, Wednesday will still have that moon in grounded Taurus, so it'll still be good for that resourcefulness and steadiness those first few days of the week. Now, once we start to get into the Wednesday time period, and especially Thursday onwards, the sun will be shifting into Libra. So coming out of the theme that has been the case for the past couple months around improvement and refinement, we'll still have it, of course. Like I said, Mercury and Venus are still here, so still good for that, doing the work, refining, improving. But the shift of focus goes towards Libra. Now, Libra, the scales, is about finding balance, essentially. So great questions to ask is, how can we find a little more balance into our life? Are there any areas that are out of balance that we may want to bring back into balance? And Libra can oftentimes be associated with interpersonal matters, relational matters. So maybe starting to focus on what is right, what is just, and coming to some harmony or cooperation with some of our agreements or some of our partnerships, or just in our everyday relationships, really good to find that sort of harmony and cooperation, middle ground, right? It's all about finding the middle ground and a mutual agreement. So that's likely the theme here for the next few weeks, particularly with the sun, and then once Mercury and Venus get in there as well. But noticing that shift of focus around Wednesday could be important there. All right, so once we start to get into the Thursday time, the moon will shift into practical Gemini. So that's great for communication, maybe some learning, again, using some of that mental energy now that Mercury will be direct around Thursday. Great for all the stuff that deals with synergizing information. All right, so it could be picking up that book. It could be maybe doing some writing. It could be simply communicating, sharing ideas. Great to do that. And just being willing to learn, I think, both Thursday and Friday with the moon in Gemini could be a great way of working with this phase of the cycle. And then once we start to get into the weekend, so Saturday onwards, we start to enter into what will be the third quarter phase of the lunar month, which means that about a week prior to that was the full moon. And so now it's really starting to buckle down. It's a good time to challenge ourselves. Really, what were those shifts of perspectives from last Saturday that now we can challenge ourselves with and implement? And that'll be an energy taking us into next week of sort of grounding and implementing all of that. All right. And what I do want to mention is, pretty much this whole early part of the week until about Saturday, Sunday, is that with that Mercury station, Mercury will be squaring up to Saturn. And so when it does come to the mental activities and our perception, we do have this more maybe serious or denser or grounded approach to how we're thinking about things. So that can be channeled very constructively. I do see it as a very constructive week if you want to channel your mind into anything productive. Maybe it's your work or anything that will require time or patience or discipline, right? With your mind, I think it can become a very constructive week to do that. Maybe start to implement from that Tuesday onwards. So last contact with that will be on Friday. And then the energy as we start to get into the weekend starts to ease up a little bit. Less of the denser thinking, less of the denser energy. But again, very constructive way of working with the week here. All right, and if there's any limitations with communications or correspondence, I would expect those to either start to move forward on Tuesday or start to lift up over the weekend. All right, and then looking at the weekend here specifically on Saturday, the moon will be in Cancer. So Saturday is a good day for creating a protective environment for ourselves, maybe spending some time at home or in our private life, so we can connect to our feelings and the more personally important things to us in life. So great for this, and also maybe getting in touch with our protective side for others, our caring, nurturing side could be really good to develop on Saturday. And then the weekends here with the moon going into Leo. So going into next week, great for starting to get into maybe some playfulness, some self-expression, some creative energy. Really good to get into some of that fire, fun, kind of expressive energy of Leo Sunday onwards. All right, and I do want to mention that going into next week, we may start to feel it over the weekend going into next week. Jupiter is going to be over Pluto for the last and final time. So we'll talk about this in depth next week, but this has been in orb since around April 4th. April 4th was the first contact with Jupiter over Pluto, and then the next contact was, I believe, June 30th. June or July? June 30th? Yeah, June 30th, pretty sure. So this is the expansion of Pluto, right? So there is this expanding of our, deeper realms. But Jupiter has a way of doing it that's a bit more optimistic, a bit more seeing the bigger picture, right? Jupiter's the philosopher, the guru, the seeing the higher perspective of things. And Pluto is the underworld, right? It is the deeper. So it can bring up, of course, as it has been, deeper things, fears, inhibitions, doubts, insecurities, but all to see and to learn more about them, right? So going into next week, just good to kind of illuminate that, expand that a little bit, get into our deeper values, deeper selves, and see the bigger picture with it. And this is great for all kinds of philosophy or learning or spirituality that deals with healing, deals with transformation, deals with self-empowerment, and how we can essentially make changes that are more important to us on a deeper level, right? Because Pluto shows us what can be stripped away. It's the outworn, it's the falsities of ourselves or of life that we have this great opportunity to become aware of and to release and let go. So we do feel more free, more empowered, more transformed as a result of this conjunction. All right, everyone. So that is the week in a nutshell. Most important thing I would say is implementing the full moon energy from last Saturday. Great week for that. Tuesday, things start to move forward a bit slowly with some of the stuff that's been on the back burner or reworking these past few weeks, particularly pertaining to our minds, our routines, and possibly communications. There is this denser kind of energy to those matters with Mercury squaring Saturn, so it's still good to be patient as we go through into the weekend and into next week. So good to have patience, but to channel it, maybe productive things with our mind or communications can be great. All right, the sun shifting into Libra, a bit of focus around Wednesday, going into balance. What is balanced, fair, just? That's taking us into next week as well. And then over the weekend, seeing how we can see the bigger picture of the deeper aspects of ourself and of life to transform and empower ourselves. All right, so everyone have a fantastic week. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to click that like button if you haven't yet. If you're new to the channel and haven't yet subscribed, definitely subscribe below. And if you want extra videos and extra content, sign up for the MTZ Insiders. There's a link down in the comment section where you get emails of extra videos and content. All right, so again, have a great one. Thank you again for all of your support, and I'll see you all next time for the next weekly forecast. Take care.